What are you stalking me? What are you stalking me? Hey, buddy, I'll be back, okay? Cheers, and here we are. Morning, aka Patters. We are still working on yesterday's Hawkman. Now, keep in mind, if I don't have any scheduled videos or podcasts today, it's because I just didn't have time within the week to get anything out on Sunday. But if I don't do that, Sunday, I observe the day of rest. So no work on Sunday. The only thing I can do on Sunday sometimes with you guys is to, well, hang out, drink some coffee, talk comics, and draw. And let's be honest, you guys want to see me draw more anyway. So cheers to that. We're going to try and complete this. I want this done. This was for Mark Poulton back in the day, maybe 2011. I was going to give him this bag because at the time he was working on Savage Hawkman. And my whole idea was we had like a comic book pitch idea. We kind of had like a script we worked on together, mostly like him finalizing the script. And the whole idea is this comic was going to be a Sharpie comic book. I was going to draw all in Sharpie. And I had the layouts. And I was going to give him the script back with the layouts and this. But that didn't happen because at the time, Rad, I missed you, buddy. What's going on, Rad? Yeah, at the time, I moved on in life. I just said, like the comic book hustle just really doesn't get money. I'm not interested in waiting. So I moved on. And I know Mark stayed. He's one of the top guys right now, but he stuck with it. I was in a different position and just decided to move on in life and learn other skills with the intent of always returning back to it though at some time. And that's why I never gave up drawing, because I always said to myself, like I would return. So anyway, I came across this bag. Long story short, I came across this unfinished bag for him, and was like, "Hey, let's finish it. Like, let's finish it live, and hang out and have some fun in the meantime." So we're drawing Savage Hawkman. And if you guys are not familiar, this might have been DC's last effort to really make this character significant. And I don't know what they've done with him recently. I guess like the big question is like, have they? I think maybe was there like a Hawkman? Oh, I just dipped that in my coffee. Just dipped the brush in the coffee. Yeah, and we're way clearer. So the image yesterday was horrible. I have to build a better process of testing camera, like the camera and sound. But yesterday's image, and right, what we're going to do now is I'm going to bring up the stream on my other. So I have a giant TV monitor here that I like to turn my head, and I can see some of the comments when they pop up a little bit more clear. So I'm going to do that. And hopefully too, like this is like me streaming 2 days in a row is huge when it comes to the later availability of me and the later months of 2025, because I got so freaking busy again. I just about entirely backed away from streaming, even for like the Hump Day show and stuff. Hopefully, like this week, I think I'll be good this week. Some of it too is the 9 to 5, the work stuff. We kind of had slowdown periods, and I got no one kind of like pecking at me, which is good. So anyway, yeah, hopefully this week I'll be able to be on Hump Day. Brad, Brad, what's going on, buddy? What have you been reading? Brad, you're one of my guys. I always want to know what you're reading. If anything, you can just say you're reading a donut. Yeah, let me get into right here. Let me jump live. So the crazy thing with live is that we got two lives though. We have see that image. This image right here is a million times better than yesterday. Yesterday it was blurry. So cool. We got to spin the hat backwards too. I forgot to do that yesterday. Well, cool. Maybe we can really do some damage here. Yeah, so this was the last time I recall DC trying to do something with this character. I should have researched it a little bit more last night, but I didn't think of it. And by research, I mean like a 10-second Google search, right? So maybe there is like a Hawkman that they used for the absolute stuff. Maybe, right? I don't know. And we're making our version here, like extra spiky. So today, what's on the docket today? We have Buffalo Birds at 4 o'clock, and I have to work out. I gotta get everything I need for like the whole week, kind of in progress before the game starts, right? So I can just sit down, and if I gotta do some work during the game, we got that opportunity. And then I got get cook food. I guess like the two big things right now, basic stuff. I gotta go food shopping, which is literally right underneath my building, which is so convenient. Got a giant grocery store that I live above, and I gotta work out. Here we go, Rad. What we got? Mostly. Oh, cool. Work on Friends Comics. Nice. Yeah, just backgrounds, right? We hate backgrounds. Yeah, okay, absolute. So there is an absolute Hawkman. Okay. I mean, and it's really like what's funny with this guy with Hawkman is that he, as old as he is, right? And we can argue that he's like a heritage legacy character. He's not like a sacred cow, and I feel like a lot of the DC characters are not sacred cows. It's like Hawkman, even Wonder Woman, like all the way that they kind of like ever since the New 52, also they always played with a little bit of like the origin of Wonder Woman. Where Marvel, it's way, like it's such a different atmosphere. Like Marvel has sacred cows. Like we only want one, one Reed Richards. We only want one Professor Xavier. We only want one Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Yeah, at this point, I have to, like, I gotta catch up with the Absolute stuff. I think all the advertising and these articles about how good they are and selling out and stuff, I think it worked. I think I have FOMO. So we're gonna be doing that this year, faux show. But we will stick with 90s comics, of course. I still gotta do Doom's 4 from Rob Liefeld and Extreme Studios. That book has been on my short list for years, and it's cheap. It's like, you can get all 4 issues with the alternate covers and the Wizard edition for like $15 or $20 on eBay. I just gotta do it. Let's start there. Dude, I am in awe with the clarity of this screen compared to yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's stream. Weird helmet and Absolute. Yeah, see, that's why, like, sometimes, like, you gotta give Marvel a little bit of credit back in the day when they went heavy with the Ultimate stuff. Because, like, the Ultimate stuff had like slight, like, skewed concepts. The concepts were slightly shifted, but the characters mostly looked like the characters, and I think that lended to the Ultimate success, or the Ultimate line success, not the modern day Ultimate Marvel stuff. Yeah, I lost interest after Dragon Joker. Yeah, there we go. The Dragon. Yeah, like, I guess Rad, that kind of lends right into what I was just saying, where the like you need some of the core concepts with some of this stuff to really get the interest of, like, all of the fandom, and I think the Absolute stuff too kind of goes viral because it's a little bit, it's almost like reverse. Do you remember the Batman, the oh geez, might have been 2007, maybe earlier, but that was the animated series that had the dreadlock Joker, and Bane was like this big red dude, but it was all designed by Jeff Masuda from Extreme Studios. Like, there was such a backlash even then that they were kind of corrupting the villains, and people wanted, like, just Joker. It's like, hey, it's like, if you're doing it in a different style, but we kind of want our characters to, like, like, we want to be able to identify what we like in this franchise. And that dreadlock, I just feel like the same reactions we're seeing with the Dragon Joker are the same reactions with the dreadlock Joker, and the same reactions with the Jared Leto Joker. And it doesn't mean, like, the stuff's not good. It's just kind of, what does the audience need to get interest in it and to think it's like, of a line, like, a little bit, because, like, you tap into the lineage of all of it with characters like Batman and the Dark Knight. So there's something else that happens with the audience And I think you add the internet on to it, right? And people just like like dog pile things, and sometimes like the dog piling gets a bad reputation, but sometimes the dog piling is right. Like, how about that for a hot take? What's the book you're working on, Rad? Like, what's the I don't know if you can divulge the title if you're working on someone else's project. Yeah, Jack. Yeah, but like that's the funny thing too. It's excuse me, the Jack Nicholson Joker is close to the Caesar Romero Joker. They really just had a different vision for how like the makeup worked, but it's essentially the same character. Murder King, dude. That's a good title. That's a cool. And is it how's do you know how it's going to be sold? Is it local or is it a crowdfunder? Murder King. We like that. Yeah, kind of mixed between Sin City. I thought of Sin City when I first saw the title. I mean, but Sin City though, it's so right. I mean, such a even to this day, such an inspiring like piece. It's hard not to read Sin City right now and just say, I want to create something like this. It's almost like the same effect as just the other day. I was watching Return of the Jedi, and it's just like watching those original Star Wars movies, like watching the you know Goodfellas or The Godfather. It's just you're it's just like they program you, and you're like, oh my god, like I need to be a part of something like this. I'm going to create my own, and Star Wars still does that. Sin City does that. I think for me too, like Watchmen does that 1,000%. It's like these works they just capture you. They possess you. Yeah, and Brad, if you need anything, Kickstarter. If you need anything for that book, just let me know. Kickstarter. Well, we'll have to cover it more or something. Let me know what if there's a way to show off some of the pages and the project. Or always you can always find me on social. Just send me a message. If I don't respond, send 2 messages or 3 messages, because it takes me a while sometimes to filter everything. I think for this, because I will have to move on to like other pieces, but I think for today's session with this guy, if I get to the wings, which I never had like a plane of action for his wings, but I get like, and then it's always like, what's the choice of the wings, right? Are we, it's almost like white feathers on black or black feathers on white, and that's kind of like how you want to stack it sometimes, because you need you need a internal philosophy slash solution in rendering wings. Here we go. I did look up the Rob Liefeld cover after yesterday's stream, and you gotta give some credit to that cover. How there's just like emotion to Hawkman, to a Savage Hawkman that I don't have here. There's like a little bit of a weight to the character that is just not here. But right, yeah, we draw things our own way. But he sometimes, because I think he draws so quick and he goes to like the finished piece so quick. Because like he sketches and finalizes like at the same time. That's just a little bit of the way how I view his technique. Yes. Let it be said, Rob Liefeld has technique. I know, right? Some people It's hard for people to believe that, but he does. And he's able to kind of like not overcorrect in spots. And what happens because of that is, there's like a emotion. There's almost like a unforced spontaneity, and you kind of get that when you're not double correcting and you're not doing like you're like boxing or sketching and resketching, and like a lot of these other like techniques we see where people, again, they go through their line work, they select the best lines. Drawing is like redrawing type stuff. That's not Rob Liefeld. Like drawing is not redrawing for him. So there is like like I said, like a speed and like a spontaneity to it. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm not joking. Rad. Yeah, like I'm available. You've been a part of the channel for so long. You've been in my chat for so long. Give me the opportunity to pay you back a little bit, and pro bono. Even though I don't like saying that, because usually pro bono means the work's not good. But from like, if you guys need help with the cover layout, like the design stuff. I mean, if you want a little bit of insight to maybe gain like a different pair of eyes on the book as a product. Some of it too is check out yesterday's Christmas book haul video where I try and express kind of where these other books I have in my library, why they're there, where they're coming from, what the significance of kind of like spreading your range out so that when you make comics and you're part of making comics, you can add more to it. So, I would just say, like, keep me in the loop. They have 6 issues written. Six issues. Nice. It's like it's always that, like my one thing with that though is always, hey, can we get one great issue, right? Like, give me one great issue. I don't care about your like universe and all the other ideas. I just want one amazing read. And I think when it comes to indie, that attitude needs to echo a little bit more because everyone just creates. I'm not really talking about you, Rad, but everyone creates new characters, and they get obsessed with world building, and they think world building is like a good comic. And it's like, the hell with that, dude. Let's just do one cool book. Let's blow people's socks off. Let's do, and that's always been my attitude with Trial by Fire, which is hilarious because like even back when I was heavy working on that, like that was kind of like a commentary on the multiverse. And now like the multiverse is such a everyone discusses multiverse. Where back then it was a little bit less of a known geek term. But I probably lost like first to market on the live multiverse like concepts with Trial by Fire. But it's a commentary against the ridiculousness of the multiverse storytelling, which I view as lazy. And that might be blasphemous, right? So people love their multiverse now, which I don't get it. I don't get it, Rad. It's like, we can have our fun too. It's like, no, dude. Like DC, we all remember, when DC was heavy with the Elseworlds, And Elseworlds was Elseworlds, and it was not supposed to be a part of anything. They were staying on their own, be separate, be their own Elseworlds thing. And how have the mighty have fallen? Elseworlds saying Elseworlds and DC breaking that policy was one of their suicidal editorial moves. And that was like once that bell was rung, they could not unring it. So we butchered his hand here. If you guys haven't seen it, it's not where it should be in shape. So it's a loss. It's an inaccurate hand here, and it doesn't. I don't think it looks good. So recently too, I don't know if you're up to great. Yes. Yeah, dude, you too, Ride. Thank you. There we go. I think we're getting there, guys. Should have used a little bit of a bigger, thicker brush for the shadow on the leg here. Well, we're just about to the wings. And I gotta look up the chest emblem. And also, too, I don't know if his wings are like metal or like bird wings or like normal Hawkman wings. I don't know. To me, it's always like, how far have they taken this character away from the superpowers version? That's like the test. It is wild how quickly the pencils just like smears here. Let me get that. What's this? Karox? Hold up here. Let me. A little bit of a delay. Cora XD. Thank you, Cora. Yeah, we're doing. If you know a little bit of background, you know, if you're familiar with the DC Comics New 52, when they rebooted the continuity, something that we know that they should have never done, and DC know, you know, Jim Lee and Co. Knew better, but this was their version of Hawkman during that reboot, and it was a legit, you know, like not 100% reboot, but close. Like it was almost 100% outside of really the two great books that they had at the time, Batman and Green Lantern. So, but thank you. Yeah, and I for here, I prefer like keeping the feathers and some of these like extra details very, like I call it like blurring. Like you keep it light because it's not the focal point of the piece. So you can go from like thick and heavy here to like real light here, and that's again too like that's really what you're doing as a inker. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Yeah, I was just commenting on it. um, I always try and give things like just a little, like like a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of just a level of interest, because that's like we've all seen this stuff before. So like, let's kind of try and portray it in a different, newer way, and but still kind of lend itself so that it's a little bit true and still on character or on model. Yeah, and we're also drawing this on a 20-year-old paper bag. Cause I always maintain, you can make anything look cool. And here we're doing very light feathering from the brush for our feathers, just to give them a little bit more like texture, make them look a little bit more dynamic. And again, there's feathers in front of feathers, and they're bunched together, and like again, like all of these things we're used to seeing. It's always a little bit more difficult when you have to draw things that are immediately outside your window. Yeah, so it's always just to break down, a good rule of thumb is you kind of like in your mind's eye, like you fish lens it, you fish eye lens it, meaning like focal, blurry, like for and that's not just like comic book inking. That's a lot of that is illustration and even fine art landscape painting where like you blur things into the distance unless you're doing like a huge piece, but like usually you have to replicate the atmosphere, what the eye can see, and you do that in everything. And I just think like that little technique there, uh I think a lot of creators miss it, and that's why like I call it like drawing to the edge, where they'll draw everything to the edge and everything's in focus, and there's no layering, there's no depth of field. That's a little bit of uh like the problem, because you should kind of experiment enough, and like you kind of should have your own methods to replicate how the eye sees things. So it's more like understanding uh, how human anatomy works than anything. Like understanding how the eye sees, and then you have to trick it. You have to replicate it. I would say like from early on, yeah. I mean, I grew up around that era, like for sure, and I know there's a lot of like that style that's replicated in my pieces. But I would say like nowadays, no. Like I hardly ever look at McFarlane. Uh, yeah, there's other things I try and do with my pieces that McFarlane like never quite got there. And I'm not like bashing the impact of him, like clear impact. But yeah, I mean there's things, like for example, like drawing buildings and putting atmosphere into your piece, as I was just saying, right? Like that's a lot of the stuff that McFarlane not quite there. Nowadays, definitely not. Like if you look at McFarlane's that um, Invincible Spider-Man mashup cover that he did, the Marvel team up cover, his like everything in that is in focus, and it's just kind of, I think it hurts the piece. I think it makes it. But if you look at just about everyone else, because I think there's six covers, like the other six guys uh, executed the assignment way better than McFarlane. People just flipped out that was him drawing the good old webhead. But yeah, I mean, I grew up around that era though, so it was really like I was always more McFarlane, McFarlane, Rob Liefeld versus being more Eric Larson, Jim Lee, or Mark Silvestri. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put the brush down, and I gotta sketch out a couple of like the details to like the feathers here that are going to stand out, because we have the feathers on the right side a little bit more visible. So some of this too is very similar to when you have to draw leaves on a tree, where like there's one, you put one good leaf, or like in this case feather, into the foreground, and you kind of bump everything around it. Like so now there's one in the foreground, and then there's like two smaller ones left and right of it, and you can kind of just keep going with that. But again, too, like you cannot draw this to the edge. I think everything will be in focus, and you will destroy the illusion of the piece. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's two positions, Adam. There's always like kind of like what you like, and then there's also like what's correct. And you have to know like the difference between those two artists. And I think when you're younger, I think you're drawn to what looks, like you're drawn to kind of those image guys. Like and you can even put like Jack Kirby in that. Like you're drawn to like this dynamic position that these artists like put you in as a viewer, meaning like the artwork kind of makes it interactive, like like because you put so much of yourself into seeing it and visualizing it, right? And and it's almost like, it's an interactive experience, like the first time you see a McFarlane. But then you look at it, you read the books, right? Because, like, again, it's not just an image; it's a comic book. And then it's like, like you read the words, which is why these guys never really worked with writers ever again. I know McFarlane had a little bit of a run, but then you read what the writer writes, and I think with a lot of the image stuff, you could clearly see what that divide was, and that was like a proper criticism where the artist wasn't up to terms on what the writer was making these characters say, what they were describing in the captions. So I think at that point, just as like a reader, you gravitate towards the more disciplined guys, the guys that can kind of like sell you an image or a story, and they can sell you a situation or a emotional climax, like the image guys, right? Like never good with emotion. So that's where like a lot of these criticisms were, they were kind of labeled as haters back then. But you kind of want to say, when it comes to comic book production and being monthly and being able to draw anything and draw emotional stories and draw humorous stuff, the image guys, like they backed away because the demands of Marvel editorial would demand that. They'll say, look, man, like you have to be able to draw a Volkswagen, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You have to draw a Ferrari here, or like this guy picking up the mail. Like the story needs this. The story needs Peter Parker flipping some eggs. And the image era, because those guys were successful, because they made money with what they were doing, took that type of like editorial direction and observation away from American comics. And in so, like, more harm than good, like, period. And to me, like if you read enough comics, you almost say to yourself, it's like, oh God, like, like the industry needs to return back to big time storytelling. And I'm not talking about storylines like crossovers and things like that. I'm just saying, like, guys that can communicate a lot on the page and meet a deadline and be timely and be a good company person. The image stuff too created a generation of people that thought Marvel was evil and didn't want to create characters and all these other like unintended consequences, because people thought their characters were going to get stolen and things like that. And every single time that accusation pops up, it's like that. You gotta look at you gotta look at it. Like, I'm sorry that these guys created characters for Marvel before they got acquired by Disney, and why would Disney care about any of those like contracts? Like, you just bought a company for a couple $1 billion. Sorry, like, your contract ended with that old arrangement. So anyway, a little bit of a rant there, Adam. But hey, thanks for hanging out, bud. We're getting there though with this. I don't know if you can see some of it. Oh yeah, right. I mean, here, if you want to see the bag, like, this is what the bag looks like. These were excuse me. These were comic shop bags back in the day. I used to work at a chain of comic shops, and this was one of their bags. Never had branded bags, which I always hated. I think comic shops should have bags with their logos on them and kind of be a little bit personal, especially today. And I know it's money, and I know it's kind of tough to do, but I think they, but the margins in comic shops, like even then, tough. Now, even worse. Yeah, and sometimes too with characters like this, because of just what their design is, like it's easy, like draw making Hawkman kind of like fill up the surface way easier than other characters. Like for example, like Supergirl, Wonder Woman. Like Hawkman has, he has this like presence. It's like he's here. Yeah, I mean, I think there's guys today. Like we might be like just the observation of what I've seen, and I'm not the best mind for modern day stuff. Uh, you might want to say that what I see, and feel free to chime in. But I think we're in an era where, uh, collectively, people like the layouts today. The layout of the comic page is at an all-time high. I think there's better layouts today collectively than in any other era in comic book history. And I could be completely backwards about that, but I think it's a little bit of the digital stuff. I think they're able to, experiment, go back and forth, and you don't have to commit because you can really just like swap panels and create a new layer, create a new digital page, and the layouts are really kind of what's succeeding right now. Now, what's inside of those layouts, that's a little bit tougher of a shell to crack right now for me. But I think now too, like books are more readable now because of those layouts than ever. And the layouts just might be too like something that shifts with the time and sensibility. Like just one of those like subconscious things that always was there in comics but never quite pinpointed. Like like no one really defined it, but it was just maybe one of those things people always knew was there. Because that's if you go back and you read the earlier stuff, you go back and read Golden Age Action Comics, the layouts are like you're like, oh my god, like I gotta read this. Like it's almost like a little bit of a culture shock, right? Because like those early Superman like Action Comics are, what are they? They're 9 panel, 8 panel grids, but they're all long rectangle panels, and you're like, wow, like bold choice, Cotton. See, and like that's where kind of like what we want. Yo, what's up, Mike? Mike, I miss I miss our boy right here. I gotta watch that movie. It's almost like I'm a little bit on a pattern where maybe I'm watching the Warriors, and by watching it, I mean like it's practically on for the whole day. Like it's maybe like every 3 months, I just get the urge to put that movie on. Yeah, it's okay. You know, like I think a little Adam to like speak on that real quick. You know, I do feel like you have to kind of practice with pen and paper to know what to try and replicate with digital. You know, and you know, like you kind of have to know you're like there's just things where you're like, oh, like you know, like this is where I think especially when it comes to the black and white side of the artwork, um, you know, like I think you should be like, oh, like this is the effects of a brush, like this type of brush, and let me try and uh replicate that here or like get close to it. Let me it's the same as like if you're working with watercolor and then you go to like digital, you're going to use the digital side in a way where you're like, oh, this is what I do with a sponge. This is what I do with like a paper towel. Let me try and duplicate that and make you know like so there's a little bit of that, and I think you're better doing both. But you can be digital focused, but never ignore the pencil and paper though. I think it makes your digital stuff way better. And you can kind of tell sometimes. You can tell the digital guys that have good pencil and paper skills versus the ones that don't. Like and you can tell very like I think it's somewhat clear. So we're almost I guess like we're like done here, everyone. Yeah, I know. We're I'm still like surprised where is like the Warriors like comic book? Like where's the Warriors comic book universe? Where like it's a little bit like the novel, the Soul Uric novel, and to where like you kind of like each warrior, even in the movie, they mention it in the movie, is a delegate, right? So they represent like 1,000 or 100. So the warriors, just from in the movie, they're like a 10,000 person gang, right? Or maybe 1,000. Like Cyrus mentions it in the beginning of his speech. So like the next part here would be to you know I gotta get the reference for his emblem, which is like good enough. I guess like here if I do it from memory, I forget. Does it have like a dot or like an eyeball in it? And then I don't know if I'm going to paint it. I wanted this just to be like with whiteout to like do the highlights. So maybe I'll keep the whiteout. Maybe I'll add some color. But I think we're going to stick with the whiteout. So because I just think the layout for this works. All right, everyone, we're going to wrap it up with a little bit of a goodbye graphic. Hold up here. Let me get back to what. Yeah, first R-rated movie. Yeah, what a great, a great one. I was in Brooklyn. No, I was in the Bronx over the summer, and they I saw a baseball fury walking down the street. Just a local with full makeup, had some extra jewelry on, and I don't know if he was a street performer or whatever, but we walked out of the hotel and this guy walked right in front of us. And I was like, holy crap. But that's the Bronx is a part of the Warriors lore. So those people, and you go there and like all the merchant, like everyone's selling Warriors gear, like all the bootleg stuff, which is also pretty wild to see. Sorry, we got a little bit of a shadow here. I wanted for the wing. Yeah, so guys, we got a lot more coming. Hopefully I see you guys back soon. So not bad for me to like time wise to wrap up this guy. I was so surprised when I found it, just going through like old papers. And most it was actually a stack of papers that should have been documented and scanned in like years ago, and I just kept like moving them around. So kind of cool. All right, guys, we're going to. Yeah, the camera angles, the lighting, the casting, dude. Everyone in Warriors, I always compare the like how every member of the Warriors is like a clear different character. Like there's no mixing people up. The same way how in James Cameron's Aliens, how the Marine guys are like I get like maybe Hudson and Hudson and Hicks kinda, right? But personality wise, like way different. And like you line up like Frost and Apone and go through even what Farrow and Dietrich, they're all drastically, they look different, they act different, just like the Warriors. And I think the Warriors is just that it became like a template almost. Guys, I love you. I hate to go, but I have to work out, and it is football Sunday. So cheers. Get you guys some coffee. Drink a lot of water today too. Rock and roll.